Okay, so let's take a look at the remaining example, right? So name is equal to John Johnson. So this means you create a variable name. This variable name basically contains John Johnson, the string value, right? So so let's just open a file, new file, and then the name is equal to John Johnson, right? This is string, and let's just take a look at this variable name, and this is equal to John Johnson. This statement a little bit more detail. So basically, you create a name, right? You create a name. So name is what? The name is variable name. So the name is equal to John Johnson, right? The name is John Johnson. So when you have assignment variable, this is what the the left side of this assignment variable, right? This is a variable, right? So this is how you create a variable. In this case, you create a variable name, right? And then so if you just draw the diagram, you have a box, right? And the name. This is the variable name. And then you have John Johnson, right? In the box. But this is what, when it comes to string, this is not really preferred way of drawing the diagram, because I like to use a different diagram, because this is actually, string is an object. Okay, the string is an object. So I'll talk about object and classes later, right? But for now, it's good enough to know that it's an object. I mean, that the string is an object, right? This John Johnson is an object of type or the class string. So let me just write down this. So it's John Johnson, right? I can skip this. John Johnson is an object of class. You can say type or class interchangeably. Okay, John Johnson is an object of class string, with a type string. Okay, so let me just draw the different diagram, which is equivalent, but when I like to basically emphasize this John Johnson is object. So the way I'm going to draw the diagram is, there is a name. This is variable, right? Name, and it's pointing to a John Johnson. Okay, and this is what? This is type, the class string. Okay, but now, when you look at the slide, lecture slide, if you look at the previous table, 6 or the 7, you have this method. Let's say count and read, find, start read, is a num, is it alpha, is digit, and is lower, is space, is upper. So this is called what? This is called method for testing a string characteristics. And they use called method. Okay, the method is a special type of function, right? It's a method. It's a special type of functions that use with a string. Okay, so you know that the the function, right? The function is basically what? The functions you have input and output. So basically functions. The function takes the input and processes that one or more inputs and then returns the output. So that's the functions. And this class string, object of class string, has a many built-in functions, and we call them method, not function, because it always associated with, whenever it's associated with a class, we call them a method instead of function. So John Johnson, for example, this is an object of class string, right? So it has many different method. For example, is what? Count, and then let's say find, and then start with and end with, right? And its digit or its upper, right? It has many different methods, as you can see. So first, let's just read. The count is returns the number of non-overlapping. Non-overlapping means a discrete occurrences of substring in the string S. So in this case, in our case, S is what? S is a name, right? John Johnson. And then count substring is, if you look at our example, the count is OH. So all non-overlapping, the discrete substrings are included in the count. So basically it returns 2. So number of occurrences of this substring, OH, right? So this John Johnson has a method called count, and then it has, in our case, S is a John Johnson, then the substring is, let's say, OH, right? So it returns what? It returns number of occurrences of substring OH. So when you look at the John Johnson, right, OH, let's say we have OH here, OH, right, 1, and there's another OH, 2. So this function, this method is going to return what? So it gets the OH as input, and then what? Output is occurrences of the substring OH, right? So 1, 2. So it returns 2. Okay. And let's take a look at the find. Find is another method, find. So let's just read the definitions. The definition of what? Definition of the find is returns the lowest index. They said index in the string S. So in our case, S is John Johnson, right? String S, where the substring begins, or -1 if the substring is not found. So they said, so the John Johnson, right? So this John Johnson dot, this time is what? Find, right? Find, and then I think this is example. Where's the example? Example is OH, right? Find OH. So it's OH. So they said it's the lowest index. We learned that the string has an index. So let's say John Johnson, right? J-O-H-N and space J-O-H-N-S-O-N. The space so on, right? So it's, you know that the string, the index is always start with a 0, 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the OH, right? So you know that it's OH is, this is substring OH. The lowest index is 1, right? So in this case, this find, right, is a method of the functions, right? This find is going to return the lowest index, which is 1, because the OH started at the index number 1. Of course, there's another OH here, but this is probably like 4, 5, 6, and then 6 is not the lowest index. So 1 is the lowest index. So it's going to return 1. And the next case is what? I don't want to really cannot go through all of the example, but let's say I'll show you maybe one or more. So let's say start with the John. The string start with the, so start with, right? So if you look at the previous table, start with, and I want you to know how you should read this table. Okay? So start with means return true if the string S, in our case the string S is what? John Johnson, right? Begins with substring, and false otherwise. So John Johnson, start with, let's say this case, if you look at the example, it's a lowercase John, it's not the uppercase. But if you look at this string John Johnson, right, it starts with what? Uppercase, and then the substring is John is lowercase. So this string John Johnson does not start with lowercase John. So the start with function is going to return false. Okay, so they return false. Then last, maybe one more example. One more example, I'll just say, yeah, maybe, okay, is upper. Let's just take a look at this. I mean, basically, ideas are all same. And then I don't want to go through all the examples. So let's say, let's look at the last method. Is upper. Returns true if string S, in our case is John Johnson, right, contains at least one letter, and all the letters in the string are uppercase. So basically asking if S contains all uppercase letters. Otherwise it returns false. So I'll just say John Johnson, right? John Johnson, and then is upper, and then let's say there's nothing, no string. It's asking if it's John Johnson, it's all uppercase letter. As you can see, only what first two letters are uppercase letter, and then all the letters are lowercase letters. So this uppercase letter is going to return false. Okay. Now, okay. So basically, I want you to go through this all the example, but since I show you how to read the previous table, then I think you can go through this example on your own, right? But let's just summarize. Oops. Let's just summarize. The things that I will show you, the count and find and start with and is upper, they are all called what? They are all called a method. the reason that we do not call functions, right? Basically, these are functions. They say inputs and return something. So this count, find, and start with, and is upper. They are all functions, but we do not call them function. Instead, we call them method. The reason is this particular functions or the method is always used with a string. Okay, so the way you can use this method is, since the name, so two ways. You can use John Johnson dot count, and also the name is pointing to this John Johnson. You can invoke this method using a variable name. So instead of John Johnson dot count, John Johnson dot find, you can use name dot count, and then OH, the same thing. The result is going to be same. Instead of John Johnson and find OH, you can say name. You can use a variable name and dot, and what? Find OH, and etc. And then in this one, instead of this, I can use name dot is upper, and this is going to return a false, right? So we can use a variable name because the variable name, this name is pointing to this string John Johnson. Okay, let me end my lecture here.